On this episode of Mad Ginger Customs, I'm going to teach you how to take your cheap Eastwood, Harbor Freight, Woodward Fab bead roller and put a drive on it. This is a winch for an ATV, and I'm going to show you how to mount it, wire it, and hook it up so everything here is pedal actuated. Let's go. All right, guys, so we got this Woodward Fab bead roller, and if you've watched our channel, you've seen my wife and I make floor pans for our 1950 Ford shoebox, and it works. This, I mean, for what you pay, it does the job. I think it was a couple $100. I'll put a link to it in the description, and everything that I use, I will put links to in the description. So if you want to do the same thing, you absolutely can. But let's address the issue with this, okay? Switch sides of the camera for you. Now, this unit is obviously manual, right? And unless you got a hot ginger wife that's gonna crank the thing for you all the time, it's inconvenient, right? You can't hold a large piece of metal, guide it by lining this up, and crank this at the same time. It's possible, but it's impossible. Guys, it's terrible. So, the other issue is this thing has crazy deflection, right? So you look at this, and this is, you know, 1/2-inch piece of steel, right? You know, but you have this long cut, right? So you're really only getting this part here for stabilization, right? Now watch, guys, and this is just my fingers, right? Now imagine putting a piece of steel in here. Watch the deflection. Can you see that? I mean, the deflection, it's noticeable. So what happens is, as you're coming down, your line starts to kind of veer. And you're like, whoa, I got to turn this thing to follow the line instead of having it track straight. So we're going to try to stiffen this thing up. Now, do I think it's going to need a lot? I've seen guys brace these things and they use massive pieces of steel. I don't think it works that badly that you got to reinvent the wheel, and I'm going to try to use what I have. And we're going to weld all of it together. And then what we're going to do, and this is the exciting part for me, and for my wife, you guys know Mad Ginger Jess. She's technically here, not gonna be in this video. She actually blew out her ankle playing softball. So originally we were gonna do a video with the Jeep because she wants to drive it, but I'm like, I gotta get that trunk made in the shoebox. So here's what we're doing, okay? This is all stuff I purchased from Amazon. I'll put links in the description. What do we have here? 2,500 pound ATV winch, okay? So we're gonna use the drum portion and maybe this mount, and we're gonna mount that on the end right here. The next thing we have is a foot switch, right? Momentary foot switch, push, push, push. Plastic box to house this item. Now, this thing is a 60 amp, 12 volt speed control. So what we have is a rheostat for speed, a switch that will give me forward and reverse, right? Nice. All right, guys. So at 1,000 foot of line pull, at 8 feet per minute, this thing, 55 amps. Are we gonna generate 1,000 pounds of line pull weight turning the crank on this thing? Probably not. You know, this controller is 60 amps. Look, if it doesn't work, I'm gonna tell you, hey, I misjudged it. We'll buy a different one. These are cheap. Everything here is inexpensive. I'm gonna have the full list, all the pricing right at the end. We'll add it all up. All right, guys, this is what you get in the box, right? Roller fair lead, Obviously, this is for a winch, like I said. Pull strap. We don't need any of this garbage. We don't need that. The controller, we may or may not use, probably not. I'm probably going to do my own thing, so we're going to put that aside. So we're concerned with this and this, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to disassemble this. So we want this portion of it, and we want whatever engages this drum. Alright guys, here's the coupling for the winch, right? The winch has this just drive nub that goes in there. It's a gear, right? So this is a gear in here. I don't know if you can see that. So this basically sits in here. This is dirty. So this is the drum. I cut the drum apart, right? So the drum was like this big. And then I just cut it out. And then I drilled a 3/4 inch hole in here. I know this looks offset to one side, but it's actually centered here. It's cast incorrectly here. And this is just a 3/4 inch bar. You know, this actually came with a bender, but it's basically just a 3/4 inch piece of flat, you know, stock. Sliding that in there. And then this right here is the bushing that went in the end of this mount. See this? Which we're not going to use this. Okay? So basically what we're going to do with this is we're going to slide that on top. Right? Like this. And then this is just a piece of 1 inch Schedule 40 pipe, black pipe. You could just buy a nipple, right? This thing fits like right in here. Now there's a little bit of play, but if you line up the weld, because this is welded pipe, if you just bump it against the welded piece of pipe, which is right there, it'll center itself. And then all you got to do is just blast it on, right? I thought about TIG welding all this, but I'm trying out this new welder I bought. I bought a Yes welder, MIG 250 Pro. You guys might have seen me putting putting this together. Some of the welds kind of got away from me because it's new to me. And it has like a it's called synergetic mode or synergic mode. So basically, as you turn the power up, turn the amperage voltage up, it adjusts the wire speed on its own. I don't know if I was a fan of that, but as I started to actually dial back, I was giving it a little bit too much power, so it's giving me a whole lot of wire. As I started to dial it back, I'm like, not bad. So I mean, a lot of this is a couple tries where I push-pulled, you know? I don't know if you can see this. But some of these are like stack of dimes good. You know, like this one, you know. Some of the stuff where I was like, I'll try to just push a line, I'll try to pull a line. I mean, I did a little bit experimenting here and there. This isn't like a customer vehicle, so it doesn't matter. I don't do customer vehicles, don't think that. So anyway, here's what we accomplished, right? Boys, I understand this is not going to really make this thing super rigid. It's still going to have a little bit of flex, but it's better than it was, and it worked the way it was. The main issue is getting the motor on it. It's a project. Can you buy a motor? You know, the motor I think is like $400 and change, maybe 500. It's like almost 500 bucks shipped. So I'm gonna keep moving along. So this is what we're gonna use for a coupler. We're gonna drill some holes in the side. That way we can put some set screws in. We'll tap them because this is a D-shaped shaft here. So that's where we're at. This is where we ended up. Piece of 1-inch bar in each, because this is what I bought for the shoebox. So this is what I got left over. That's what we're using. We always just use what we have. This is the coupler. We're gonna drill some holes in it, obviously. I'm gonna show you how this thing just fits, right? So this slides in, and there's a spring inside the barrel connector where the splined piece is. So you can't drill too far into that. So let's lock it down and we'll see how we did. All right, guys, so here's what we came up with. Ultimately, what do you really need to mount this Amazon winch to your bead roller? You know, you saw me put this stuff on here. You don't need to do any of that. I was just trying to stiffen it up, and then ultimately, I think it's going to have mixed results. It's going to be stiff, or it's not going to be perfect, but it worked the way it was. We stiffened it up a little bit. You know, if I went with a heavier bar all the way around, it would have been great. But ultimately, what do you need? This is 1x1 tubing, square tubing. And then all you need is, you know, 5 inches of it, and then the plate that it comes with. And then all you're going to do, let me come around for you. All you're going to do is weld it on the inside of this plate, and then set your distance here. And then this thing floats. I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if I can rock it around. So this thing floats in here. There's a spring, engages the gear that connects this to this. And this thing kind of floats. So even if you're off a little bit, this thing will kind of dance as you're using it. So we're going to drill a hole in here, put a set screw. We're going to drill a hole in here, put a set screw. So we're going to lock this to the plate that the 3/4 inch dowel that we welded into the 1 inch, using the bushing from the end of this mount that we cut off. So ultimately, what do you need to buy? You're going to have a piece of 1 inch black pipe. You can just buy a pipe nipple. This comes with this, and you just cut it down. And then a 3/4 inch dowel. Or you could use 3/4 inch tubing. Not tubing, I'm sorry. 3/4 inch round bar. So if your hardware store doesn't have those 3/4 inch dowels, which they may not, you could use 3/4 inch round bar, cut yourself a piece of it, or even if you got, you know, I don't know how expensive it is, 3/4 inch bolt, you know, cut, and then you could put your set screws into that. You know, you don't have to necessarily drill into it, but if you made like a little pilot point, or if you took your flap wheel and you just D-shaped it a little bit just so it had a flat end, that's all you need. So ultimately, you need yourself, you know, the little ATV winch. off of Amazon. You could use this one, 2,500 pounds. I mean, you could use 2,000 pounds. You probably use 1,500 pounds. I mean, all you're doing is turning the gear. And then the 1 inch, the 3/4 dowel, the bushing we put in the end actually came with this piece. And, you know, basically 10 inches of 1x1 box steel. And then, you know, you basically just split the difference of the middle and the thing lines right up. Boom, straight in. Gotta turn your fan off, you're gonna blow your gas away. Need some gloves. Where are my gloves? Guys, might need a glove sponsor. Man, I'm rough on gloves. That's actually not bad. Pretty good. Pretty good. She's smoky. A lot of powder coat on that still. It doesn't really matter, guys. This box is not going to weigh anything. So even if this thing does move around a bit, which it doesn't, it's going to be good. I'm thinking about cutting up that winch switch and just using the wire that's in that, because use what you have. Save your money. Don't buy stupid stuff. I buy stupid stuff all the time. I'm just kidding you guys. All right. We're going to put this control box together. I really don't have a use for the control, but I didn't want to ruin the controller. If you take the controller apart, got all switches in here. So you can just unscrew this, pull out the strain relief, and then you can use all the wire. Is wire expensive? I mean, who are you? Bill Gates? I'm not. I'm gonna use what I got. And then we just gotta get a regular cord. We could use an extension cord or something, because technically, I think it's like 600 watts. So what's that gonna draw? Like 120, 5 amps? 5 amps, won't draw much. So we're gonna do that. We've been working. So I'm gonna explain my thought process to you guys. I think it's fairly simple, but all right, here's the situation. Here's a control box that we bought. This box ended up being a little bit smaller than advertised. I was hoping it was going to be 10 inches. It was actually 9. So we're tight on the bottom here. So this is a 120 volt. It has a selector switch. It also does 240 if you guys live overseas. So there is a selector switch. Make sure it's on 120. It actually says 115. And then you got power, neutral, ground here. And then all of these rails, these three, and then these three. So you got power on this side, ground on this side. And then this is your speed control, right? So I crudely destroyed half the box because this is reversible, right? And then this is your basically a rheostat for speed. I'm hoping this all works. I'm not going to test it because I want you guys to see my reaction if it either works or it doesn't work. So what we're doing here is we got 2 wires that are going out to the motor. That's going to be these yellow and blues, right? Now, we're using the wires that came with the winch. We're trying to save all the money. Even the bolts that are going to attach this thing back on the plate, we got from the kit from the winch, okay? So, this is the switch, foot switch I bought. Everything's going to have a link in the description. So, basically what you're doing is, this is basically a very common switch, right? So it's common, normally open, normally closed. That means when the switch is at rest and it has nothing pushing against it, these 2 contacts will be open and these 2 contacts here will be closed. So what we want to do is when the switch is up, we want it to break the contacts in its resting position so it's normally open. This is what we want. Okay, I want to show you guys that. This strain relief comes with the switch. So we're going to fold this thing back over. We're going to bolt this back on. And then technically, I'm going to tighten up a couple of these. Oh, okay, these things, right? These things are common hardware store items, Home Depot. You get a whole bag of them for like $1, right? So just pinch your wires down in there. So I'm going to just tighten this stuff up. I got a couple screws in here. It's all kind of kitty-wampus because the box is a little small, but it does function. So I'm going to give you guys the link to the bigger box and the smaller box just in case. I really thought this thing was going to be longer by 1 inch. If it was, it would have saved us a lot of squish room. So what we're doing here is the motor feeds into, there's basically a positive and a negative for the motor, for the speed control. I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't know if you can see that. Right there. So what you're doing is, instead of having the two come out and go straight to the motor, what you're doing is you're breaking the power with the switch, and then you're putting it back in the other side of the motor lead. So basically, it's one coming out of the speed control, going through the switch when it makes connection, comes back on the other line, right? And feeds the motor. So it goes out to the motor, and then it returns back to the speed control. Technically, this should all function. Sweet God, please let it work. So I'm going to button this up. I might tie up some wires just so we can kind of get them out of the way. And we're going to try it together. I promise you I'm not going to run it ahead of time, all right? Here's where we're at, right? So the box is mounted. We got the 12 volts going to the Super 25 Hundo. Our little coupler we made with all the parts that came with the winch. All right, we are going to plug this in. And hopefully nothing, we're going to open this up and look. Hopefully nothing explodes. Okay. Oh, we got... Oh, I'm going to have to cut a hole in this door so this fan can breathe. Let me get you guys in here. See, this thing lights up. So we got power. All right, now, that's a speed control. So let's just pick any direction. Okay. The speed control does not have a light. That kind of makes me nervous right there. All right. Oh, it works! It works!
Nothing in the world can stop me now!
Hell yeah, it works. Check that out. Wow, okay. Can we turn it up faster? Oh yeah, it rips. Let's turn it down. Oh, she creeps too. Oh my God, guys, this is such a win. This is such a win. Okay, let's get a piece of metal to fire through this. I'm gonna try to crush this thing in there, like tight. And we're gonna see how much power this thing has. Is it moving? Oh yeah, she's already dimpled. Okay. I don't know if I'm going the right way. I guess we'll just tap it and figure it out. Nope, going the wrong way. Oh, my coupler's slipping. Man. Guys, look at this. That thing worked great. You know what, as it turns out, this bolt I found was actually metric. So that's why the threads didn't feel good in there. So I just found another one. Seems like it's okay. So let's just try to rip this thing and see how far it goes. Let's turn it up to speed. Man, this thing flies. Wow, check that out. That's awesome. Man, that's awesome. Let's try another one. All right. Let's give it a rip. See if we can just turn it. See if we can just turn straight off with it. Ready? Here we go. Guys, look at this. That's awesome. Look at that. When you go from forward to reverse, it takes a second. There's like a little time delay. Not much, like a second and a half. But, all right. Now, we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna tell you what everything costs, how to get everything, what size to cut everything. We're doing that. All right, guys, so this is gonna wrap it up. So I have the list right here of what all the components I purchased cost. These are all available on Amazon. I tried to buy everything from Amazon to make it easy for you guys if this is a modification you wanna do, okay? The winch, 2,500 pound Z Super winch is $79.90. The speed control, which is a 60 amp, 12 volt, $17.99. The power supply is a 50 amp. That gives you the 120 stepping down to the 12 volts, $36.99. This control box, you guys heard me mention this. I thought it was a little bit longer than it was. It's not 10 by 8 by 4, $23.99, or you get the 12 by 8 by 4, which is $34.99. Gives you a little bit more room to work with. This is just a cord from a computer that we had that I cut. So it was just, you can use any cord. This thing only draws like 5 amps, less than 5 amps. Miscellaneous connectors, figure on $5. Butt connectors, you know, forked connectors, stuff that you'd probably, if you're a car guy, you'd probably have kicking around. And the foot switch, which is a good heavy duty switch, $20.99. Grand total is $184.86. Now, if you bought the kit from Eastwood, which is a bolt-on, right? You're looking at $400. So what are you really saving? You save about $200. So is your time worth $200? It is, right? Ultimately, you saw me do a lot of work on the actual frame of this, right? Unnecessary to mount this. All you need is 2 pieces, 5 inches long of 1 inch tubing, 1 inch square box steel. You guys seem to have issues with what I call things. It's funny in the comments. You gotta call it this. It's tubing, it's square stock, it's blah, 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 blah. Okay. It's 1 inch by 1 inch, right? And then we cut up all the components that came with the winch. You don't have to buy extra components. The backing plate is from the winch kit. The mounting plate for the box is the roller fair lead and the mount, right? The coupler is basically the winch drum cut down, and then the piece that we use in this little piece of 1 inch, this is basically 1 inch pipe, right? And the bushing you use comes in the kit with the winch. And then it's basic wiring. If you guys don't feel comfortable with this, or you don't want to spend the money, but you want to use it with the motor, you don't need any of the 120 volt items. You can buy just the winch. You can buy a $17 speed control, put it in a little cheap $8 box, and hook it up to a car battery. Bam! You are bead rolling, right? So, if this helps you guys out, I'm going to have all the links in the description. You can just click on them. If you guys want to click on them, it actually supports the channel. We got a buy us a coffee link in the description. So somebody asked for that, and it's a small donation to the channel. It allows us to do things like this. Please like and subscribe. It helps us out. Jess and I really appreciate it. You are going to see me put this thing to use. We are going to make some magic in the shoebox. If you guys like our shoebox videos, we're going to do the trunk. We're going to do the back seat plates. We're going to use this thing. I'm going to use it from one end to the other. So like and subscribe, and like what we tell you every time we make a video, if I can do this, you can do this. Thanks for watching.